Hi friends, and welcome to another edition of Meet Me at the 313 Grill and Kitchen. Tonight folks, we're going to be doing a special and first time tried recipe in our household. We are making tonight Brasolo al Barolo, or in short terms, braised beef short ribs. How I discovered this recipe was a couple of weeks ago. I had to take a trip back up to visit my dad in Tennessee. As you recall, a couple of weeks ago, last month, he made the venison backstrap method in the sous vide on a couple of episodes back. So if you have not seen that one, please watch it. But a couple of weeks ago, I made the trip back up to visit with him before Christmas, and to surprise my stepmother, who was was getting ready to retire, and we're throwing a surprise retirement party for her that weekend. And so that weekend, while I was there the night before I flew back home, he made this recipe, and I liked it very much. Now, when you want to eat short ribs, it's very, very identical to a chuck roast. They're identical. We're going to have a few simple process. So the first thing that we're going to do, and I'll kind of show you what we are doing. So you want to get some beef ribs. These look really delicious. You want to get these from, check with your local supermarket, as they would have some good. I got these from one close to where I work. So you want to turn your oven. First thing you want to do is you want to turn your oven on to 375. And I'll go ahead and read you down the recipe so you know what we're looking for. And I've already did a lot of my prepping, so I didn't want to bore y'all by watching me cut carrots and onions and all that mess. So I want to take the liberty of cutting up 2 celery stalks. You want them chopped. And I took 2 carrots, and you want to peel them. If you get 2 fresh carrots, you're going to want to peel them and chop them and fine them. Also took an onion and chopped that up. And you want to take a couple of garlic cloves, and you want to chop those up and get those nice and fine. You're going to need 2 cups of Barolo red wine, or any red dry wine. In this case, I found a Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't pronounce dry red wines good, but you want to find a good full-blooded dry red wine, and I found this one last night. And then you're going to take a cup of beef stock, and I'll kind of run you down those in just a little bit. So the first thing you're going to do, turn your oven on to 375, and our oven is ready at 375. But before we do anything, we are going to go ahead and turn on our pan. You're going to want a deep skillet or a Dutch oven. Now in this case, I do not have a Dutch oven dish, so we're going to cook everything in here and prep everything, and then we are going to put everything together in this dish, and we're going to cook it for 2 hours at 375. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to brown our beef ribs. And so we're going to take first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a cup of extra virgin olive oil. I'm sorry, a quarter of a cup, forgive me. This is a first time made recipe. Take our olive oil. And the purpose of this is you want to get your pan nicely heated up. And what I've always liked to do with olive oil is we like to kind of get the bottom of it a little bit going. So we're going to let that heat up for just a minute, but while we do that, we're going to get our ribs ready. So we're going to load them up. We're going to load them up. Notice here the one-hand technique. We're going to spray some salt. Just kind of go all over the meat. And we're going to put some pepper on it. Kind of need a little bit more pepper in some spots. And while the oven is warming up, you can get your onions and garlic and all that ready to prep while everything's warming up nicely. So I'm going to tilt both sides of it, and I am going to do the same thing. Salt, and we're going to take our pepper and do the same. Just like that, she wrote. And we want to wait for our oven to come on to full speed. So we're about ready to roll, so let me wash my hands. So we want the heat to be turned up. So what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to saute our meat for 15 minutes. So I get about 6 or 7 minutes per side. Here we go. Go ahead and get all that going. Now, while these are in the process, you may want to also keep an eye. Now, while this is going too, you want to keep an eye on it because keep an eye on your stove top after right effect, because olive oil can tend to spit out and cause a mess. So while that's prepping, as you see here, we got our beef going. I have one a little bit later there, but we're going to make some room here in just a second for that. So we're going to go ahead and get our wine and our beef stock ready. You want me a cup of the beef stock. Get that nice and cleaned out. And take your beef stock, fill this all the way up. Alright, and I'll tell you what we're going to do with this in just a second. Now, measuring stick out. Gonna put my wine bottle over there. And we're gonna pour 2 cups of this wine. Now the wine, the wine is used to make our sauce. So the wine, the alcohol in the wine will cook out when you put everything together. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that here in just a second. Give me 1 second as I open up the bottle of wine. Alright folks, it's been about 15 minutes. As you see here, the meat is doing well, and I think we are brown enough now. We can go ahead and remove and put in our baking dish. I've got my wine ready, so what we're going to do, we're going to leave this on. We're going to take our meat. We are going to transfer it over to our baking dish over here. We're going to set aside. Get a good grip on these over here. I'm going to put these in here, just like that. Now, we're going to leave our sauce in the pan, and I'll tell you why. We're going to do our vegetable blend. Alright, we're going to cover this up. We're going to cover this up. We're going to keep it warm. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our tomato juices. And I forgot to do one quick thing. We need tomato juice. We need 1 second here. Sometimes in the kitchen you're not prepped. I'll be right back in just a second. Alright folks, I forgot to mention to you that you're going to need 16 ounces of tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the tomato juices, the beef stock. Let's see here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add our vegetables. So we're going to add our carrots. This is the next thing that we do. Sorry, I misread a little bit wrong. We're going to add this, our onions, and we're going to take a spoon, and you want to try to get up the crumbs from the bottom evenly. Try to turn it up just a little bit. You want everything nicely all to come prepared. Alright. So after adding, we need to add in our garlic. So we're going to add in our garlic. Our garlic is added. All these rich flavors come together to make a really delicious meal. Alright, we'll give this just a minute. We're going to give this about 4 minutes. And then we're going to add a little bit more salt and pepper into the dish. So we're going to give this about 4 minutes, and then we'll show you our next step. Alright folks, as you can see here where our vegetable mix is starting to brown up. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our juices. So now we're going to add our 2 cups of red dry wine. Add that. We're going to add our cans of tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes. This is what makes the sauce that's going to cook with it. Now we're going to add our beef stock. We'll add just a little bit of salt and pepper for taste. Alright, then we're going to add a tablespoon of oregano. This is thyme. We're going to add thyme, and then we'll get to the oregano. Got it mixed up. And this is for flavoring. Alright folks, our dish is coming to a boil, so now we're going to go ahead and transfer the meat in one last time, and then we're going to transfer it back over to our bacon dish. We'll let this kind of blend with the flavors. Just like that. Boy, this is going to be a delicious meal. We'll let this give a minute or two to get together, then we will go ahead and start proceeding. Get that going. Kind of go ahead and get our that just a minute, and we will proceed. Alright folks, I switched over my phone. My camera started to act up, so now we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to transfer our dish to here, then we're going to start cooking. So let me see what's the best way to do this. I'm going to just leave it right here. We'll go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and start making our dish. Take out our meat. Alright, now we're going to add in our rest of the juices. Put it over here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Just like that. So this is what it looks like before it goes into the oven. Now, doesn't she look delicious? Man, that looks delicious. Alright, I'm going to cover up. I'm going to put this bad baby in the oven and we're going to let it cook. Alright, put this into here. We're going to cook it now for 2 hours. So we're going to check on it just a little bit when we come back. The other things we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be doing my grandmother's green bean recipe, and we're going to be doing some homemade mashed potatoes. So stay tuned, there's a lot more exciting things to come. Alright folks, so the next thing we're going to do, and it's smelling really good in our kitchen, so I cannot wait to dive into this delicious meal. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make my grandmother's recipe of green beans. This is what she call, is actually, The name of it is actually spicy hot beans, but to tell you the truth, it is not spicy hot beans. It's actually sweet and sour green beans. This was a recipe I grew up eating on and going back as a kid for family functions and Thanksgiving. Then my mom, made it some, and then, my grandmother sometimes would take it to church, or sometimes she would make it and we'd go up there to her house and eat it. So the first thing that we are going to be doing is we're going to fry some bacon. And I've already got out our ingredients ready to roll. So we've already chopped up an onion. You're going to need a half a cup of vinegar and a cup of sugar, and you're going to need about 2 to 3 cans of French style green beans. So the first thing that you are going to want to do is we are going to cook bacon. The bacon is a big component of this recipe. So let me get out a cutting board and we're going to fry up some bacon. And as a key, when you want to fry up bacon, you want to be able to have it somewhere that's far away and cooked at a certain temperature, so you will not be spilling any oils or anything as we go along. So I'm going to go ahead and just get some bacon, start putting on here. You really only need 2 to 3 pieces of bacon when this is said and done. So I'm going to cook some extra bacon, and what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to, of course, when you cook extra bacon, you can always use it for sandwich slices or do whatever you want to do with it. And sometimes the bacon, you want to check, sometimes bacon will have a tendency to stick together. And any type of bacon will go well with this dish. So I'm going to cook a whole bunch, and then we'll save some like sandwiches or salad uses or whatnot. So we can fry that back a little bit. And as the more the bacon starts to shrink, you can put as much on there as you like. Alright, we're going to add the rest of this bacon onto the stove and give it just a second, because what you'll see here, notice, is that the bacon has a tendency, when it gets to heat, it will shrink up immediately. So the shrinking up process is beginning. So I'm going to put my fan on to get some of this grease and things that went out of the kitchen. And the more that it shrinks up, we're going to add the rest of the bacon. And you want to watch the temperature too on your pan, because you don't want oil to go splattering all over the place. It can cause a burning hazard in your kitchen. Alright, we'll add our last 2 pieces of bacon. We'll be ready to go. We'll call that good to go. So we're going to let this fry, and then when we're ready to go, we'll let you know what our next steps are going to be. Alright folks, so our bacon is done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pour out some of our grease, because we are going to use some of the grease to make our dish. So I'm going to pour some of the grease into my bacon grease jar, and we're going to use, I'm going to turn down the heat, a little bit because we're going to go ahead and fry up our onions. Next thing we want to do, we're going to take a small onion. You want to chop up the onion. We want to fry it. We want this to be golden brown, and then we're going to add in the other ingredients. So we don't want to use all of the bacon grease, we're only using some of it. Alright, we'll let that fry. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add, and I will tell you, we're going to add our 1 cup of sugar, half a cup of vinegar, and then we're going to stir it until it's all clear, and then we're going to add the beans, and we're going to let everything cook for an hour. Alright, so that looks good. So then we're going to add our vinegar. Okay, here's our vinegar. Then we're going to add our sugar. And we're going to go ahead and let these stir. Let it just keep on rolling a little bit. And we want the sugar to be completely dissolved before we add anything else. We'll let that give it a minute or two to get clear. And it's raining outside. It got cloudy here all of a sudden. It'll come out pretty quickly. Alright. We're going to add in our green beans. I'm going to reduce this down a little bit. Just like that. I may add a little bit extra of a can of green beans. Then we're going to add in the bacon. We really don't need salt and pepper for this. I'm not going to add any salt and pepper. So we're going to go ahead and add in our bacon. And I'm going to take just 2 to 3 slices of this bacon. Just kind of crumble it in. I may add just a hair bit of salt and pepper. I'm going to add another slice. Let me find a good slice. Kind of add extra. Let's give it some flavor. There we go. I think that'll do it. Alright, then I'm going to add in just a tad bit and stir this up for just a minute. And I turned the heat down to medium because you want to slow cook this for at least a good hour until all of these rich flavors come together. And take just a hair bit of salt. A hair bit of pepper. Stir one more time. So there you have it, folks. This is my grandmother's sweet and sour green bean recipe. So in just a little bit, we're going to go and put the last bit of our recipe together, our homemade mashed potatoes, and I went ahead and got the mashed potatoes all peeled. So just a few minutes, we're going to go ahead and make homemade mashed potatoes. Alright folks, our green beans are coming along just nicely, and it's getting near time. So at this time, I think we're going ready to make some mashed potatoes. So the first thing you want to do, I went ahead and got our potatoes all cleaned up and ready to go. You want to get a big pot, and what you are going to want to do is we're going to start cutting these up into quarters. Try to figure out the best way to do this. There we go. We'll start cutting these up into quarters. So when you boil them, it doesn't take a lot of time to boil the potato. Just throw them on in there. Just like that. And part of the reason too that you want to cut up in quarters is that when you get ready to smash them to make your potatoes, it makes it easier too to put everything together. And when the mashed potatoes are done, it should be just about time to pull out our meat. Folks, if you're here right now, our kitchen is smelling awesome. Sure cannot wait to dive into this delicious meal. Alright, so now we're going to fill it up, and you want to cover the water level. And you want to cover it all the way to the over the top potato. Alright, we're going to go ahead and let this going, and so when we get ready in just a few minutes, we will come back and we will make the mashed potatoes after this boils. Alright folks, so now we can go ahead and make our potatoes. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drain the potatoes. We're going to drain the water out of the potatoes. I'm going to drain all this water out. Put in your strainer. And then when that's good, we're going to immediately put the potatoes back into the pot. Alright. Now, back on here. And the next thing you want to do is take your infamous masher. And we are going to get these things mashed down. We want to make sure when you make potatoes that you do not want any lumps. This needs to be free of all lumps. I'm taking a spoon. There's still some lumps, So
Hello.
there's our assistant.
Hello.
At the still, we're still getting all the lumps.
Hey, Daddy.
Hi. All right, go in there. Thank you. Okay, so we're mashing the potatoes. We're about done. Trying to make sure we get all of these clumps. All right, I think we're good. I'm making. And sometimes you want to take the spoon, just kind of go around just like that. All right, I think the lumps are clear. I'll put this in the sink. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add milk. I'm going to add a stick of butter. Let me get out what I need. And we need our butter. So make sure you get all the wrapping off the butter. Okay, we're going to put that in there just like that. And I may turn up the heat just to low to get some of this butter melted. Alright, now I'm going to add the milk. Add enough milk to make sure that the potatoes are going to be nice and creamy. And you may need to add a little bit extra milk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up this to a medium. I'm going to get this stirring. And how you know when your potatoes are done, it will thicken up. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And some pepper. Give this a stir. We'll let this all come to a boil. I'm going to continue to let that thicken up and continue to mix so everything will be free. So while that's going, we're going to go ahead and get our meat prepped to eat. Now, let's go ahead while this is cooking. We're going to do the last leg of our delicious meat. And folks, this is going to be one heck of a meal. Alright. Let's take a look first in this made, and just to give you a warning, this might make you drool a little bit. Ooh la la, that looks delicious. There's a few more steps we got to do with this. So I'm going to remove our lid. I'm going to put this right here. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to make a sauce. And to do this, we're going to do this in simple way. First thing we are going to do is we're going to remove our meat from, look at this folks, doesn't that look delicious? This is already starting to fall off the bone, which is what we want. My goodness. Same time, I'm going to turn down that, and we're going to keep tabs on our potatoes. We're going to look at this, folks. Doesn't this look delicious?
Motion at your Ring video doorbell.
All right, and I'm going to put these in the microwave just to keep their heat on. Look at that. That looks awesome. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our strainer, and you're going to want to pour the sauce back into a smaller pot. So we're going to do this, and the purpose of this is we are going to squish all of the vegetables into like a thickened sauce. This is what's going to help drive the sauce. Let that drain. And I'm going to take a fork, and if you find any remnants of bone like I did, you can get rid of that. Whew, like that. Alright. Alright. Now with our fork, we want to get all these vegetables squished up. Just like that. And then we're going to put this back on the stove. Crushing these vegetables is going to help thicken up the sauce, which is what we want. Alright. Just like that. I'm going to put this back in here. This is going to, we want the sauce to thicken up as much as we can before we serve it. There we go. There we go. Alright. So now we're going to put this back on the stove. Move that. Then we're going to put this over here. We're going to let this cook now just a few extra minutes. I'm going to check on our potatoes. They are coming along just as nicely. So our potatoes are almost about ready. We want to let them still continue to thicken up is what we want. So we're going to let the sauce thicken up. Oh, one more thing we're going to do for serving purposes. I'm going to take some parsley, and you want to slice up some parsley to top off. So we got our parsley here, and all I am going to do, I'm just going to take off this much. We probably won't do a lot, but we'll have enough to slice up and top off our delicious meal. We want this to be as small as we can. While we check on the potatoes at the same time. And parsley is just used for a decoration. And our sauce is heating up just nicely the way we want it. Put that here to the side. I'll let these continue. Our potatoes continue to heat up. Now I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to start stirring this to thicken up the sauce. And at the same time, I'm going to put some bread in because we'll be ready to eat in just a few minutes. I'm going to put some of this bread in we made the other night from New Year's, some cornbread. I'm going to get that heated up. Potatoes are coming along nicely. You can watch that cook and ooh and ah for just a second. In just a second, we will begin plating our food. Clean some of that up. Sometimes in the kitchen, always be prepared for a little mess. Give that just another second, and then we will plate our food. So what I'm going to do now, folks, I'm going to turn down this sauce to a little under a medium. I think now we've got enough. We can go ahead and put our stuff back on the plate. And what I'm going to do is take our meat out of the microwave. And we're going to go ahead and just put this back in the sauce. I'm going to see if I get you angle where you can see what I'm doing. Just like that. I'm going to leave it just simmering. Just like that. We're making our sauce. See, that's how tender you want it to be. It fell right out of the bone. And let that just marinate for just a second, and then we will begin plating. Get in there. All right. All right, folks, I'm going to show you how we're going to plate our meal tonight while our cornbread is still heating up. I'm going to turn this down on low. You're going to take out the piece of the meat. And you can serve this over. You could serve your meat, actually anything over like potatoes or pasta or polenta or rice, whatever you want to do, but we're going to serve it with mashed potatoes. And you can use the sauce as a gravy for your potatoes. Just like that. I'll let you see here in a second what I'm doing. I'm going to take some of our green beans. I'm going to add some parsley. And I'll show you our final result. So here we are, folks. This is the delicious Brasoto al Barolo with my grandmother's homemade green bean recipe, sweet and sour green beans, and homemade mashed potatoes. So without further ado, let's see how this dish does on our score 1 to 10. So we're going to take and really slice the meat up. Just like that. Oh my gosh. This is a winter dish right here. It's tender. It just tastes like a pork roast, and you want it to fall off the bone. That's the dish I haven't had in years. Just blends in well with anything. So again, folks, I will let Levy be with the picture of our recipe. If you like all the recipes that have been featured tonight, please feel free to let me know. This is an awesome dish, and I cannot wait for my family to enjoy it. So until next time, folks, this is Patrick, and this has been another episode of Meet Me at the 313 Grill and Kitchen. Happy grilling, and God bless.